The bookcase groaned under sudden pressure. Heavy footsteps echoed up the narrow wooden stairs like thunder rolling through a fragile dream. In that heart-stopping moment, a 15-year-old girl froze. Her diary clutched tightly against her chest as the hidden world she had known for more than 2 years collapsed around her. Armed officers burst into the cramped rooms, their voices sharp and unforgiving. Papers scattered everywhere, pages filled with a young girl's private thoughts, fears, hopes, and quiet rebellions, trampled under boots that cared nothing for words. No one paused to read them. Yet those very pages would one day speak louder than any weapon, carrying a message of humanity across oceans and generations. This is the story of Anne Frank, a girl whose voice refused to be extinguished by the darkness that tried to swallow her whole. In the bustling city of Frankfurt, Germany, in the year 1929, a baby girl entered the world on a warm June day. Her parents, Otto and Edith Frank, welcomed Anneliese Marie into a household brimming with affection and quiet intellectual pursuits. Otto, a thoughtful and forward-looking businessman, instilled in his daughters a sense of curiosity and resilience. Edith offered a steady, nurturing presence, and had an older sister, Margot, 3 years her senior, whose calm and studious nature contrasted sharply with Anne's own explosive energy. From her earliest years, Anne was a whirlwind, talkative, quick-witted, full of questions that often left adults unsettled, and possessing an unfiltered honesty that made her both charming and challenging. Classrooms came alive when she entered. Teachers appreciated her keen intelligence, but sometimes wearied of her constant movement, laughter, and bold opinions. She had a gift for turning the mundane into something vibrant, filling spaces with her lively spirit even as the world beyond her home grew increasingly unstable. By 1933, ominous changes swept through Germany. A charismatic, yet dangerous leader named Adolf Hitler rose to power with his Nazi party, promoting hateful ideologies that targeted Jewish citizens as threats to the nation's purity. Laws multiplied rapidly, stripping away rights one by one. Jewish children found themselves barred from regular schools. Families faced boycotts, surveillance, and growing social isolation. Otto Frank, perceptive and protective, recognized the escalating peril. Rather than wait for conditions to worsen, he made the difficult decision to relocate his family to Amsterdam in the Netherlands in 1934. There, he established a new business, hoping the distance might shield them, and adapted swiftly. She learned the Dutch language with remarkable ease, formed friendships at her new Montessori school, and embraced the city's canals and open atmosphere. For several years, a semblance of normalcy returned. She delighted in Hollywood films, pinning glossy photographs of movie stars to her bedroom walls like treasures. Books transported her to other worlds, and she harbored secret ambitions of one day becoming a renowned writer or journalist. Her popularity at school stemmed from her infectious enthusiasm. She had a way of making everyday moments sparkle with excitement and possibility. Yet peace remained fleeting. In May of 1940, Nazi forces launched a swift invasion of the Netherlands. The country fell within days, and the same oppressive regime the Franks had fled now extended its reach across borders. Restrictions tightened gradually at first, Jewish people excluded from cinemas, parks, and public transport. Soon, children like and had to attend segregated schools. Yellow stars marked their clothing, a visible brand that invited stares and suspicion on every street. For Anne, these changes felt like invisible chains tightening around her freedom. The energetic girl who once roamed freely now navigated a city transformed into a place of quiet dread. Each new decree chipped away at the life she had, rebuilt, replacing joy with uncertainty and isolation. The tipping point arrived in July 1942. A call-up notice arrived for Margot, ordering her to report for labor service. The family understood the deadly implications, deportation to camps from which escape was rare. Otto had anticipated this horror. For months, he had quietly prepared a hiding place behind his office building at 263 Prinsengracht, a picturesque canal-side address. The secret annex consisted of a series of modest, interconnected rooms concealed behind a swinging bookcase. On the morning of July 6th, shortly after Anne's 13th birthday, the Franks departed their apartment under the cover of rain. They wore multiple layers of clothing to avoid drawing attention with suitcases, leaving behind cherished belongings, the family cat, and star photos, familiar comforts. They stepped into uncertainty. The bookcase door closed, sealing them into a new reality of confinement. Life inside the annex demanded extraordinary discipline. Eventually, 8 people shared the limited space. The Franks, the Van Pels family, Hermann, his wife Auguste, and their teenage son Peter, and later, the dentist Fritz Pfeffer. During business hours, absolute silence reigned. No flushing toilets, no walking in shoes, minimal movement. They relied on a small group of brave helpers, including Miep Gies and Bep Vosquigel, who smuggled food, supplies, and fragments of news from the outside world at great personal risk. Every footstep from the office below could signal discovery. Tension simmered constantly amid the close quarters. Arguments flared over small things, personalities clashed, yet moments of shared humanity persisted. And documented it all in her diary, a red and white checkered volume gifted by her father. She addressed it intimately as Kitty, transforming it into her closest confidant. Through its pages, she poured out frustrations with her mother's perceived lack of understanding, admiration for her father's steady wisdom, observations of the other's quirks, and her own evolving inner world. As months stretched into years and underwent a profound transformation, the outgoing child matured into a deeply reflective young woman. She pondered big questions: religion, justice, the nature of humanity, and the future roles of women. Her writing sharpened with insight and literary flair. She wrote not merely to record events, but to make sense of suffering and beauty alike. She found solace in the single chestnut tree visible from the attic window, its changing seasons a reminder that life continued beyond their walls. Romance blossomed quietly with Peter Van Pels. In the attic, away from the others, they shared conversations filled with tentative hopes for a post-war world, dreams of freedom, education, and ordinary joys, and captured these tender experiences with honesty and emotional depth, revealing the universal longings of a teenager coming of age under extraordinary pressure. Her diary stands out for its remarkable absence of unrelenting bitterness. Despite the fear, hunger, and loss of freedom, and often chose hope. She celebrated small beauties, a glimpse of blue sky, a radio broadcast hinting at Allied progress, the act of writing itself as liberation. One of her most enduring entries, dated July 15, 1944, captured this spirit. In spite of everything, she still believed people were truly good at heart. These were not naive words, but a defiant act of faith from someone who had every reason to despair. In the spring of 1944, hearing a government minister's radio call to preserve wartime diaries and letters for posterity, and felt inspired. She began revising and editing her entries, envisioning them as a book titled Het Achterhuis, The Secret Annex. In that hidden space, she was already becoming the writer she aspired to be, shaping her experiences into something that might one day touch the world. Suspense built relentlessly as the war dragged on. Air raids shook the building. Rumors of betrayal circulated in whispers. The inhabitants clung to each other and to fading optimism. Then, on August 4, 1944, the worst fears materialized. A tip led police to the annex. The bookcase was forced open. Chaos ensued as the 8 were arrested and their belongings ransacked. Anne's diary pages spilled across the floor, ignored by the officers focused on valuables. Miep Gies returned later, gathering the scattered writings and hiding them safely, hoping against hope to return them to in one day. The arrested group endured transport to Westerbork transit camp, then a harrowing 3-day journey in overcrowded cattle cars to Auschwitz. Families separated on arrival platforms. Otto saw his daughters for the last time there. Conditions at Auschwitz were inhumane, but and Margot faced further transfer to Bergen-Belsen. There, in the brutal winter, starvation, overcrowding, and disease, especially typhus, ravaged the prisoners. Survivors later recalled Anne's enduring spark. Even weakened and thin, she maintained concern for others, her personality flickering amid the horror. In February or March 1945, just weeks before British forces liberated the camp, and Margot succumbed to illness. They were buried in a mass grave, their exact resting places unmarked. Otto Frank was the sole survivor among the 8 from the Annex. Liberated and returning to Amsterdam, he learned the devastating truth about his family. When Miep placed Anne's diary in his hands, Otto began reading. The words brought tears, laughter at her humor, pain at her struggles, profound pride in her wisdom. That single line about believing in people's goodness pierced him deeply. Devastated yet determined, Otto devoted the rest of his life to sharing his daughter's writings. The diary was first published in Dutch in 1947, then translated into numerous languages, eventually reaching more than 70. It became a cornerstone of Holocaust education, read by millions worldwide. The Anne Frank house at Prinsengracht draws visitors who climb those same stairs, peer behind the bookcase, and stand in the rooms where a girl's words defied tyranny. Anne's movie star photos still adorn the walls in preservation, a poignant reminder of youthful dreams interrupted but never fully erased. And Frank's story transcends mere survival or tragedy. It reveals the power of the human spirit to find meaning amid suffering. She could not halt the forces arrayed against her people, nor could she fling open the Annex door to freedom. But through her pen, she created a lasting testament, one of honesty, growth, love, and unyielding optimism. Her writings challenge us to confront prejudice, value empathy, and protect the vulnerable. In classrooms and memorials across the globe, her voice continues to educate and inspire, proving that ideas and words can outlive empires built on hate. Today, decades later, Anne's legacy prompts deep reflection. What does it mean to maintain faith in humanity during humanity's darkest hours? How can young people today channel their own frustrations and dreams into positive change, much as Anne did in secret? Her life encourages us to speak out against injustice, however small our platform, and to cherish the freedoms we often take for granted. The chestnut tree she admired, though replaced over time, symbolizes endurance and renewal. Visitors to the site sometimes leave notes or flowers, connecting personally with a girl they never met, but feel they know intimately through her diary. In exploring Anne's journey, we see not only the horrors of a specific era, but timeless lessons about resilience, creativity, and moral courage. She transformed confinement into a space of intellectual and emotional expansion. Arguments in the Annex became opportunities for self-understanding. Fear became fuel for deeper empathy. Her relationship with Peter highlighted the universality of first love and hope for the future. Even in describing mundane hardships, rationed food, shared facilities, the boredom of silence, she infused them with wit and observation that make her relatable across time. Historians continue to study the circumstances of the betrayal, though the informer's identity remains uncertain, underscoring the pervasive atmosphere of suspicion under occupation. What is certain is the bravery of the helpers who sustained the group for 25 months. Their risks exemplified ordinary people choosing decency in extraordinary times. Otto's post-war efforts ensured Anne's message reached far beyond what she could have imagined. The diary's global impact has fostered dialogue on tolerance, human rights, and the importance of bearing witness to history. As we conclude this tale, consider the quiet power held within a single diary. Anne could not rewrite the course of the war, but she rewrote the narrative of her own existence, turning victimhood into a beacon. Her final months at Bergen-Belsen, marked by unimaginable hardship, did not define her. Instead, her earlier writings illuminated the essence of who she was, a vibrant, questioning, hopeful soul. In a world still facing divisions, conflicts, and challenges to truth, Anne's insistence on believing in inherent goodness serves as both comfort and call to action. It urges us to nurture that goodness in ourselves and others, to document our truths, and to ensure that voices like hers are never silenced again. What aspect of Anne Frank's remarkable story resonates most deeply with you? The courage of stepping into hiding, the tenderness of her first love, the profound hope expressed despite everything, or the enduring triumph of her words over those who sought to destroy them. Her life reminds us that even the smallest acts, writing in a diary, helping a neighbor, choosing kindness, can ripple outward in ways we cannot foresee. In learning from her, we honor not only her memory but the countless others whose stories demand to be told. May we all find the strength to write our own chapters with similar honesty and heart, ensuring that light persists even in the longest nights.